A scenes of crime officer, or SOCO, spends many hours at a crime scene looking for evidence the criminal may have left behind. This could include the criminal's own DNA, perhaps a strand of their hair, or a sample of their blood, skin, or saliva. Cigarette butts may have both skin cells and cells from saliva on them. The forensics team are interested in collecting cells because the nuclei of cells contain a molecule called DNA. Most red blood cells do not contain nuclei and so do not contain DNA. However, some of your blood is made up of white blood cells, which are used to fight infections. These contain nuclei, although some of the nuclei are odd shapes, as you can see here. It is the nuclei of cells that are of interest because these are the parts that contain DNA molecules. DNA in cells contains the coded instructions for life, the genetic information for an individual person. The DNA of different people is always different. The only exception is identical twins. This means that DNA from a crime scene can be matched to one individual person and used to show whether or not that person was at the crime scene. Red blood cells do not contain nuclei and so do not contain DNA. So for forensic analysis, DNA is extracted from white blood cells extracted from whole blood. Only very small numbers of cells are needed to test the DNA. The DNA is extracted by using physical and chemical methods to break open the cell and remove the proteins from around the DNA molecules in the chromosomes. The DNA is then analysed automatically by machines. These machines produce a pattern from the DNA molecules. Since everyone's DNA is different, each pattern is different. This pattern, or DNA fingerprint, is what will be used to confirm if the suspect was at the scene of the crime. Scenes of crime officers must wear a plastic suit, gloves, head covering and footwear protectors so they do not contaminate the crime scene with their own DNA. A single hair or drop of sweat from an unprotected person could contaminate the samples at the crime scene. The task is now to find a DNA match to the sample. This could be a match using DNA fingerprints obtained from people who have volunteered to give samples to police. This usually involves taking a mouth swab. DNA fingerprint matches can also be made against DNA fingerprints held on the National DNA Database. If a person is arrested by the police, they must supply a saliva sample. The sample is only kept on the National DNA Database if the person is found guilty of an offence. DNA fingerprint results show if a suspect's DNA is a match with the DNA found at the scene of the crime. Though a DNA match between the DNA found at the crime scene and a suspect does not prove they committed the crime, it does place them at the scene of the crime.